Our Highline Voices, 106.5 KQWZ LPFM.
Connecting Highline and our region.
History, cultural heritage, art, performances, contemporary pop culture.
We collect, preserve, and tell the stories of the Highline region and its people.
We want to embrace our differences and similarities.
We want to extend our mission outside the walls of the museum. Our Highline Voices, 106.5 KQWZ LPFM.
Hi everyone, this is Nancy from the Highline Heritage Museum and welcome back. Today we have a beautiful soul today here on our station, and I just cannot wait for you to hear from her about what she does and who she is. And it's just an honor. It's an honor to have the opportunity to share everyone's stories. But today I had the opportunity to meet with her not too long ago and kind of dive a little bit more into our values as to how we serve our communities and how we are committed to you guys. We're committed to serve our community in a way that is authentic with values of inclusion, diversity. And that's one of the reasons why we had this project, is to make sure that we're reaching out to a more audience and different demographics that are not always going to be comfortable in a museum and the museums in general. There's also an audience where people are having several jobs or disabilities and so on. And so we want to be sure that we are as inclusive as we can, that the stories are not being told just inside the museum walls, but quite the opposite, that is out there for the community to get to know your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, and so on. And so I'm sure you connect here in the Highland area. I'm sure you have one way or another cross path to the work that she's doing. And so we're just excited to have her here. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself. And before we do that, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
And then go for it. Just introduce yourself and let us know who are you, and just share a little bit more about you.
Thanks for having me. I love being here at the Highline Museum. Nancy, you're so sweet to have me on this show. I am Heather Adams, and I have a little Instagram feed called Highline Happening. I started it as a blog and then transitioned into doing it more just on the Instagram feed because pictures are worth a million words. Mm-hmm. And that's where a lot of people hang out. And we have some great blogs in the community as well. But the whole thing started out of living here in the Highline. I used to live in White Center several years ago, moved to Burien. Mm-hmm. And I loved the food. I loved the culture. I, as somebody that is from San Diego, was craving diversity of food and diversity of people. And when I moved here to the Highline, I found it. I was like, where has this been the whole time I've lived in Seattle? I'd lived in Seattle for maybe 15 years and never felt like there was a community that sort of represented, at least a little bit of who I was. And then I found it here. So Highline Happening just became this thing like, okay, I'm taking pictures of literally everything I eat and every place I go. Where can I share this? People need to know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's, I've been following you. I've been following your posts and it's amazing. I don't have the time to go out to really talk to people outside of these walls, ironically, and just that I'm still too busy. But with you, what you do, you're really introducing not just me but everyone, the different areas and the magic that we have in the community. And so thank you for that service. Thank you for that beautiful work that you're doing in just sharing what's happening, what's going on, seeing it from your lenses too. Because, we can be in the same location and we can take photos, but it's like, what context are you sharing this? It is not just walking by in the street. You actually, hey, look, this is a food, or this is a good drink, or we provide a little bit more content than just an image. Mm-hmm. And so that helps a lot. And so why? We're going to go into your values as to why. Why are you doing that?
Even though it started as just like my pet project. Okay, I have these photos. I've had this incredible experience at this restaurant, or I went to the store and they sell this thing that I just love. That's the first why is I can't just keep this to myself. This is awesome. The second is to support the small businesses. And that's now become the first, right? Like that's exciting because I'm like, okay, y'all are awesome. But maybe your business is in a part of area of town where a lot of cars don't drive by. Maybe you're not big on social media, or aren't some of the restaurants or the places that are shared on the bigger blogs in town, or that do sort of some advertising here and there. There's so much richness that might go unnoticed. Even on our Burion's main drag, I'll share something from there and my friends will be like, oh, I've never heard of that. To me, I just take it for granted. I'm downtown a lot. I go to yoga, I eat out in downtown Burien, but that's not everybody. So it was really cool to hear, like, okay, maybe to me as somebody that absolutely loves driving around town all day and I like to explore the nooks and crannies of town, that's not everybody. And not everybody has that time, right?
Yeah.
But to me, that's just something I love to do. I'm like, okay, I'm already doing it. Let me share this. I get giddy when I find something new, when I go to a new place and sit down and eat, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to share this. I need everybody to know how good this is. And yeah.
The first thing that crossed, or the term that came in my mind when you just said that, joy.
Mm-hmm.
When you experience something, you experiencing the joy of trying something new, something cool, and then you add that by sharing it to another people to pass on that joy. And I don't know why, but I'm connecting that. There's a term that is in my head right now, that because you're enjoying it and you love it, and then you experiencing that, you passing that those vibes up through the work that you're doing. And it's great. Thank you. Thank you for doing.
I'm glad that's felt, because I don't think I've shared anything where I'm not a fan of this place, after I went to it. I'm somebody that I like new things, and I like to, be the, first to know and things like that. So there's a part of that too. But I am friends and family with folks that when they find something they like, that's where they stay, right? They branching out isn't as comfortable for them. Change isn't as comfortable for them. So there's this part about accessibility too. Like, okay, when you go to this, for instance, I just went to the KW Korean barbecue. That was a new experience for me. I hadn't really ever done Korean barbecue. I was a little overwhelmed when I sat down. How do I order? And, what do I get? I love Korean cuisine, but, I don't know how this works. So it was such a joy to, map out, okay, when you go to KW Korean barbecue, here's what you do. You're going to pick your meats, and then you're going to go to the buffet and get your side dishes, your banchan. And that's fun to do, because you can kind of demystify these experiences that,
Yeah.
otherwise you're gonna have a great time, but here's how you do it. Here's how you kind of break in. So you're not all overwhelmed when you get there.
Well, and that's exactly one of the reasons why you do it in a digital format. Hopefully later on in many years from now, there's something that you can change, also share that in different other formats.
Yeah.
But for now, what you're doing on your social media channels, yes, you're allowing people not to, number one, be aware of what's happening, but also being able to say, hey, this is, if you were just driving by, you were not paying attention, this is what's happening. But also, like you said, promoting the business, but on top of it, an introduction. Because, there's still no judgment, please know that. But there's a lot of people that still don't even know what an avocado is, have never had an avocado before.
I don't believe you.
Yeah. And
so what a life.
all I'm saying, once again, it's not
know.
judgment. All I'm saying that is that there are many families have been living in this area for a very long time. And so the idea of being exposed to all the cultures and all the different is a new, and at times scary.
Sure.
And at times scary experiences. And so to be able to have a little bit of a quick glimpse or a quick preview as to what's going on inside those establishments will be great. There's been, I had many opportunities here at the museum with different people that, they don't really eat Mexican food. So like come over, let me introduce you to more of the basics. There was one person that I don't know. I don't know if I should be just laughing or I should be upset. But
always
there was,
laugh.
well, yeah, obviously. But it's like, are you serious? And he was like, well, so this is a Mexican restaurant. I'm sure you're bringing your chicken from Mexico. I'm like, no, it's just we prepare Mexican meals, and we go to the markets and we go to the grocery shop, and we don't. Yes, there's a lot of products that come from Mexico, spices and things like that, but no produce and meat like that.
Yeah.
But it was like, okay,
That's
so
interesting.
All I'm saying is that
That's true.
there are different layers and levels of how
Yes,
people will interpret even the work that you do and even the work that we do.
absolutely.
And but the idea of people having a chance to, okay, I'm curious. What is that? And then diving into it, like, huh? And
Yeah,
then diving deeper. Yeah, let me look at the website, or let me drive by, or
totally.
and
Or put it on your list. There's other blogs that really showcase stuff around town that I love. I'll go on my Google Maps and just save the place. So then if it's a Friday night and I'm looking around and I'm hungry and what am I going to eat? I'll go through these places I've saved. You mentioned the Mexican food, and this is one of the first kind of barriers, not barriers, one of the first sort of comments I had when I started at Highline Happening. I shared some Mexican food from El Rinconcito, I think. And somebody said, okay, well, like we already have so many Mexican food restaurants in town. And like, why do we need any more? And I was like, okay, this is an opportunity. I'm from San Diego, so I live close to Mexico. I also visit Mexico a lot. And so I know that the different regions around Mexico have completely different cuisines and foods and delicacies that we all love. But how would you know that if that isn't your experience? If you didn't live close to Mexico or you don't visit, you don't know that the tacos from Puebla are going to be cooked on a vertical spit and they're tacos al pastor. And you don't know that you can only get tlayudas from, a Oaxacan restaurant. And you don't know that, the fish tacos are coming from Baja. So yes, we have a lot of Mexican restaurants, but okay, the cuisines are completely different. You're going to get stuff totally different at different restaurants. And then people see, oh, okay, we don't just have a ton of Mexican restaurants, we have regional. And that's pretty amazing for not just this region, but like our state to live in the Highline where we don't just have Mexican food, we have regional small time Mexican. So that
yeah.
I think honestly, Highline Happening started with my love for Mexican food.
Oh, I appreciate that you like the Mexican food, but there's three things I would like to share. One is that the size of Europe is the same size as Mexico. So
Hey.
if you overlap Mexico and Europe, that's almost as close to it.
Wow.
And so if you think about all the different countries in Europe, it's the same different states in Mexico. And so think about the different cuisines of that.
Yeah.
Last summer, we did a presentation about the history of los tacos, the taco history. And it was really interesting to really dive into it because it was explaining the different types of cuisines, the different regions, and how it was prepared. And it is true, we do have a really diverse, even within Mexico, really diverse meals. And so it is true, within just 2 blocks away, we got several restaurants, but each one of them had a very distinctive way of how they're cooking things. And so that's that. And then number three is that I love how you use that instead of being in the defensive mode. When somebody makes a comment like that, turn that as an educational tool,
Right.
and then use an opportunity in a way that is like, here's the reason why we're doing the work, is to face those barriers and then being able to come to a place where it is from the better good instead of being defensive and then have
Right.
this tension back and forth with things like that. Especially how we all have our different views and way of thinking, defense mechanisms and personalities
Amen.
and history and all that. And so we come to the table with a lot of things behind us, and we think that our things are going to be seen or understand or being interpreted the same way as everyone else's. If we don't, there are even times that we don't even understand ourselves. I'll
Right.
tell you about myself.
Yes.
I like, hi, Nancy, what are you doing? What are you thinking? What the heck are you saying? And so all I'm saying is that it is great that I love that. I really, really appreciate that instead of being defensive or be offended or take that microaggression, that you turning that around and you make it a more educational tool to continue to cultivate those values of why are we doing the work that we do.
Right. And I think, and thank you for saying that, the joy that I feel in sharing, it has to translate when people engage, right? Like I can't like be like, oh, here's this awesome thing. And then somebody engages and then I'm like, hey, easy, you know what I mean? Like, get out of here. And, it's because I'm so excited about the thing and I like to teach and I want to show people what they have, in this region, then yeah, like let's use it to educate. And that has created this really nice kind tone when people do engage with that Highline happening. I've noticed that the tone is much more now like curious and much more excited, and like the short fuse thing is something we're all dealing with right now, especially around change, especially around cuisines from different places and different ethnicities. It's already a hot button issue, right? So yeah, bringing people in, getting people excited, like that's just going to create so much more love and so much more of that community feel. Also, love that the museum did a taco, did an exploration of tacos. That's awesome. I was just downstairs before our interview and looking at all the posters and the topics that y'all have, and I'm like, this is so beautifully diverse, and it matches what I see when I'm driving around to all the parts and places. So you've got this forum and this space, like an actual space, and these spaces within your talks and your programming that just really reflect. I don't even know how you do it. That's hard to do, but it really reflects so many different parts of this community. Like, wow.
Well, one, I would never ever take the credit for what's going on here.
I know
It
you
is, it
wouldn't.
is, it is all, you know what I mean? It's like, it's so many people
I
behind
know,
this,
that's
like
true.
all the collaborations and programs and exhibits and people involved and volunteers. I mean, it is a really, you might see just one face, but if you can see that every single object represents a different person. I mean, one of the joys that we have at the museum is that we got 43 display areas, and each one of them is co-curated or co-designed with a community organization or a community member.
Wow.
And so we don't believe in label writers. I know my museum people out there will hate me for saying this because it's one of the most basic rules, and I'm breaking that rule. And so I don't like label writers, and I'm so sorry. Museum feel love you anyways. And so I do believe that each one of us should be having the opportunity to narrate on stories and being able to have more authority. I don't believe in putting too many filters as to who tells the story. And so when you look at the content of the programs, collaborations, of what's going on, it is just really people joining in. It's like a potluck. It is just we only offer the table, and people are just bringing the potluck. And then you pick and choose whatever you're curious, you're interested, you like, and you connected with. And so, no, thank you for that comment. And we're going back to a little bit on the barriers and the tension that happens, and then the adapting to things too. One is that 57% of the Latino community in South King County in the whole King County is in the South End. 57%.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of things going on in Seattle, but believe it or not, it's becoming less and less diverse as time passes because everything is getting too expensive.
Right.
And so because everything is getting too expensive, then everyone is getting pushed away. And then a lot of them are coming to the South End. And so right now, because of that dominoes effect, we have 57% of the Latino community in the whole county here, which also represents kind of a state. I'm not going to make that statement, but think about it at the state level, what that means. And then also in the King County level, we are the second, the school district, the most diverse and the most low income in the county.
Yeah.
And so when you think about diversity, it is true. It is sharing and learning. If any of you like to travel, why do you travel? The first thing that the majority of the people say, well, because I want to learn. And almost the people that are curious and want to learn is about that sense of, oh, I want to, that being curious about all the ideas, all the foods, all the music, all the movies. I mean, think about what makes us feel joyful and the pleasures that we have in every day, all the way from movies and TVs and all the shows and stuff. We have this really cool fusion of many different cultures taking place. What American history is a fusion of many different cultures.
Yes.
And so for me, when I look at the history locally, yes, we do have a Native American history, because I'm not going to ignore that, quite the opposite. And then we do have a pioneer history. And then now we have this present that is really rich and it's very interesting. And I share it many times in this show, how we are no LA or New York or those big cities. So this is a one generation issue of trying to adapt and adjust to all the different changes. But in your case, you're doing it in a way that is joy. It's all about
Well, when
pleasure.
you put food and you put like shopping and you put nature into something, well, that can make it easy. You're so right. Like, we as humans, like, it is our nature to be curious. It's our nature to expand our knowledge and expand the flavors that we eat and expand the connections that we make. People also travel to just be part of something, to be part of community, to see community, to be with other people. And that's another reason to share what's going on. I don't just go into the establishments I'm visiting and eat. I've heard stories. I've gotten to meet people. Like,
Wow.
I've left being like, okay, this person's awesome. I like have to blow up the restaurant. You
Uh,
know what I mean? Like, beyond the food, I'm like,
yeah.
I want to support you. And you're
Yeah.
my neighbor. Like, how cool is that? Like, it's so awesome. And I just, I'm one of the people that lived in Seattle, Capitol Hill, 15 years ago and lived my life and got pushed out of my apartment because I got a letter that my rent was doubling. So, like, I am the wave of people coming into this area. We moved to White Center because it was one of the only places we could afford.
Yeah.
And we bought a home in Burien because it was one of the only places we could afford. I mean, even that's a huge dream, and I'm so blessed for that. But I'm part of the reason that a lot of people move to this region. The reason that I feel so connected to it is the diversity, and that's awesome. I remember, so I went to high school in Hawaii, and we were driving through Burien, like, okay, could we live here? And I saw like an L&L, and then I saw Ohana Kitchen, and I was like, yeah, I could live here. It wasn't just like the Mexican food that I grew up with, that's like in my blood, but like all these parts of my life that I've had the privilege of living in these communities was here too. I remember a girlfriend of mine came to visit Burien, and she is Serbian, and she saw the Balkan market and started crying. And she went in and bought like tons. She's like, I don't even know if I'm going to use all this, but like I touched it and it brought me home.
Yeah.
She's like, I didn't even know I was homesick. A Balkan market, like we have that in the Highline, like we have an Australian pie company. Like, where else do you see this type of diversity? This is a gem. It's a gem, and our differences only make us stronger, which is a really cool thing to have. But it can also, like you said, it can cause tension, and I think we can all feel that and see that. But it's kind of where you put your focus. If you put your focus on, here's all the tension, here's another thing that went wrong, here's another issue where we're just not agreeing on and we can't figure it out. Yeah, it's going to look like that's all that happens here on the Highline. But I love highlighting where it's working, where it's an asset, where it makes our community richer and stronger, where it could make our new community members or longtime community members feel more connected.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of stories that I could tell like that.
Don't tell me that, because then you are not escaping. I'll keep you prisoner. Just stay here, and you'll not leave it until you share with everyone.
Hey,
So
I don't know if I'm gonna leave. I was a military brat. I moved like every 2 years of my life. When you landed here, I'm like, I could see myself living here, like doing this thing. And you know what's so cool? When I started the at Highline happening, I was like, okay, am I gonna like run out of things to talk about? There's no way. There's no way, because it's always shifting and changing. That's the only thing that has stayed the same, is how much things rotate and shift and grow. And you see this one business started, in this tiny place, and now they're moving to this bigger spot. The business that started at the farmer's market now gets a brick and mortar. There's never gonna be an end to the newness in this region.
No. And number one, we have way more things in common than differences, no matter what.
Easy. We're human.
Exactly. So just if you strip away our cultural differences, we got way more things in common than you might think.
Yeah.
And so that's one. And then two, you're right. There's, collecting stories. That's what we do. That's their mission, is us sharing the stories in the community. And, we've been working on it for the last 25 years as a historical society, and then now into the present. And we will never be able to accomplish everyone's stories and being able to share that. But yes, I love how you say that you go to a business and you are not only and going through the experience of that, of the experience of the location, but you can also engage. You're also engaging with the people, with the people behind them, and then you hear the story. So the meaning of what the work that they do takes you to even a deeper level that allows you to even have a deeper experience and even a deeper joy. And so
right,
it's so cool. So we got only 4 minutes left. So you got 4 minutes. What else would you like to share about what you do? What's happening? what would you like to share?
Yeah, that went by so fast. This has been so lovely. Well, I definitely want to just throw out at Highline Happening. That's on Instagram. I don't have it on Facebook. Thought about it, but with social media going on, I wanted to simplify things for my own mind. I love sharing there. I have a little link on the at Highline Happening Instagram where you can share any spots that you want to blow up. I had an awesome person send me the Cambodian New Year Festival. So glad I could highlight that. I'm open to suggestions. I'm always driving around town. If you also see a story and you're like, I know a little bit more about that story, a little more to that, share it with me. I've always thought of this as like a community collaboration thing. I'm picking my favorites, but I want to know y'all's favorites, so it could be my favorite. And just like, again, I started at Highline Happening to promote the beauty in this region. So if that means, like support small business, try something new, and try avocados.
There you go. There you go.
Just try it once.
Just try it once, and it's incredible. I get it. Like, how can you know even in a guacamole, on a salsa, on a sandwich? But it is in I just love you. I love your energy. I love your joy, and I hope that all of you out there that you were able to connect the side with the face, and then with her energy and her beautiful light that she's just shining all of it in whatever she's touching. And so, thank you so much for allowing us to do this interview
for
today.
this time. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Yay!
Our Highline Voices, 106.5 KQWZ LP FM. We envision ourselves sitting at a round table where no one is the leader and stories are heard respectfully, regardless of gender, age, sexual orientation, disabilities, or ethnicity. Our mission is we collect, preserve, and tell the stories of the Highline region and its people. We want to extend our mission outside the walls of the museum. Our Highline Voices represents us all, honoring our past, celebrating our present, and uniting to cultivate our future. This project allows us to reach out to demographics who might be unable to visit the museum. People with disabilities, low-income families, people who don't trust museums, and more. In partnership, we are launching a locally programmed new radio station at the museum, featuring recorded and live Highline's heritage, history, culture, arts, and more. Are you interested in sharing your story? Email director@highlinemuseum.org.